Dear learner, my name is Dr. Mohammad Nazim, faculty in the Department of Library and Information Science, Aligarh Muslim University. We are going to start a new course, Information Processing and Retrieval. And in this week, in the first week, we will cover the important aspects of the course, that is documentation, which is the foundation of information processing and retrieval. In this course, we will explain the scope of information processing and retrieval as a course, and then we will try to identify core concepts of information processing and retrieval and analyze interrelationship among related concepts. Then we will try to outline the course structure and the key topics which will be covered in this course. So before starting the discussion on course structure, it is important to understand the concept of information processing and retrieval as the course and different related concepts to this particular aspects. So information processing and retrieval is the systematic method used to collect, organize, store, search, and retrieve information from a large collection of documents and data and collections. It is a fundamental concept in many disciplines including library and information science, computer science, and information systems. The primary goal of information processing and retrieval is to provide users with relevant information efficiently and accurately in response to their information needs and in response to their query. So there are at least 5 related concepts of information retrieval, information processing and retrieval. And documentation is considered as the foundation of information processing and retrieval. So documentation can be defined as the systematic collection, organization, and dissemination of recorded knowledge. When we talk about information processing and retrieval, it is a systematic acquisition, organization, storage, and searching of information to meet users' need. And information storage and retrieval deals with information representation. That is, we need to define information. And information representation means that is analysis of information and then defining the contents of the document. Then storage of information and using different techniques of information organizations like classification, cataloging, and indexing. And finally, providing the mechanism for accessing information, that is information access. Another important related concept is information organization and retrieval, which is defined as the process of creating, storing, organizing, and managing information and retrieving relevant information from the large collection of documents, databases, or web pages to meet the specific needs of the users. And finally, another important concept which is related to information processing and retrieval is the information retrieval, which can be defined as the process of identifying and obtaining relevant information from large repositories based on the user's defined query. So on the one side, we can put the information, we can store information in the databases, in the repositories, and on the other side, user with their information query can interact with the system and find the relevant information from the information retrieval system. So all these concepts, they are interrelated and these describe similar processes. And these similar processes include acquisition, organization, storage, and retrieval of information. So now we are going to discuss each related concept one by one. First of all, we will try to understand what is the meaning of documentation and how it is basically the foundation for the information processing and retrieval. So documentation can be defined as a complex process providing precise, comprehensive, and rapid access to newly generated knowledge for the specialists and researchers. One of the important definition given by Paul Outlet is the process by which are brought together, classified and distributed the document of all areas of human activity. So this definition clearly indicates that documentation is a process where we need to do different kinds of activities. For example, we need to collect the documents, relevant documents. Then we need to organize these documents by doing the classification, cataloging, and indexing. And then finally, we need to distribute the relevant documents to the users, to the specialists through different kinds of services, particularly the current awareness services and selective dissemination of services. So information processing and retrieval, which is another related concept, and this particular concept can be divided into two parts, that is information processing and retrieval. So information processing is the acquisition, organization, storage and manipulation of information through systematic activities. And what are the different systematic activities? Which are classification of documents and information using system of classification, and indexing process, and abstracting, and sometimes creation of databases. So these are the activities that are carried out in the system of information processing. And another component of information processing and retrieval is the information retrieval, which is the process of locating and accessing relevant information in response to a particular query of the users. So information processing is the activity behind the scene, and the process of locating information is the process where we are locating and searching information, and user is just putting the query into the information retrieval system and then try to find the relevant document from the information retrieval system. So together with information processing, information retrieval converts raw information into organized knowledge and enabling efficient retrieval from large collection of information. So information storage and retrieval, which is another important related concept to information processing and retrieval, where it is called systematic management, that is organized storage using various tools and technologies for quick and accurate retrieval of information. So this new concept is emerged in the digital era, where the carrier of information has been changed from the printed form of document to digital form of documents, and most of the information is stored in the databases, in digital libraries, and available through search engines, and managing such a large volumes of information is difficult. So the new concept is emerged where we need to systematically manage the information using information storage and retrieval systems. Another related concept is information organization and retrieval, which is basically the systematic structuring of information, that is the arrangement of information resources to facilitate efficient retrieval, such as classification and cataloging and creation of metadata. So at the end, the last thing is information retrieval, which is the process of locating, identifying and accessing relevant information which is stored in a system in response to a user's query. So different activities are performed in the domain of information retrieval, such as locate, that is to find relevant information, identify, to recognize suitable content from the information which is located, and finally we need to access, retrieve the information which is needed by the users. So there are the different timelines for the development of these different kinds of information processing and retrieval system, information organization and retrieval system, and we can see that the documentation is the foundation of all these kinds of information retrieval system. The terminology of information retrieval has evolved from physically managing documents to intelligently organizing and accessing the large amount of digital data. And it shifted from early manual documentation to information processing and retrieval, that is the advent of computing, information storage and retrieval, that is systematic indexing, and finally to information organization and retrieval. So documentation is the foundation, and this is the activity before 1950s, and the focus was on manual indexing archiving and retrieving physical document, often associated with library science, cataloging, and early mechanical searching tools like punch card. So documentation activities were performed. They were purely manual activities, and the documentation was done on the printed documents. The new concept which was emerged during 1950s and 60s, that is information processing and retrieval, and the term was coined by Calvin Moyers, and this shift marked the beginning of the using computer for searching information, moving toward the automatic processing of textual information, rather than just managing physical files of the document. Then during 1960s to 19s, a new concept was emerged which is known as information storage and retrieval. And this concept gained popularity with the development of formal models, that is formal models of information retrieval systems, particularly in different disciplines, and they are called discipline-oriented information storage and retrieval systems. And one of the renowned project which is called Smart System, and this system was basically developed for retrieving the information in a particular subject domain. So it bridged information science and computer science, emphasizing the creation of indices and structured storage, that is inverted file, to handle growing digital data. So inverted files means that is capturing the contents and the subjects and the keywords from a large amount of information and putting into the computer in the database, and then easily finding the information which is stored in a information storage and retrieval system. So this is the concept emerged during 1960s to 1990s. And finally, information organization and retrieval, which is a new development and emerged in 1990s and still in use. This reflects the modern era of internet, big data, and artificial intelligence. And the focus is on structuring unstructured data, that is documents, images, video, and we can say the multimedia document, using advanced algorithm to understand context, meaning, and user intent for intelligent personalized retrieval system. So information organization and retrieval is the combination of two kinds of activities, that is the organization of information by applying different kinds of modern techniques in the processes of organizing information, maybe the traditional system of classification and the modern system of classification, that is taxonomy and ontology. And the retrieval is the mechanism has been developed to retrieve pinpointed information, and the information which is retrieved may be ranked according to the relevance. So this new concept was emerged in 1990s, and it is prevalent, and the new developments are coming in this particular area, particularly with the advancement in artificial intelligence. So what are the key takeaways? They are related concepts that we have discussed, 5 related concepts that describe similar processes in organization and accessing of information. The goal is common, that is organize information effectively and enable quick and efficient retrieval of information. And during this 100-year of time, different kinds of term has been evolved, and these names emerged as the scholars emphasized various aspects of the same process. So despite terminology differences, all concepts share the central goal of transforming raw information, raw data into organized knowledge for the efficient retrieval and access to knowledge. So now come to the course overview, that we are going to start a new course that we have already discussed, that is information processing and retrieval. And this course provides an overview of the concept, methods, and tools that are used to organize, manage, and retrieve information. This course is structured over 12 weeks, and it progresses from the basic concept of documentation to advanced topics such as the evaluation of information retrieval systems. Each week addresses a specific theme, gradually building understanding of information organization, indexing, abstracting, metadata, search strategies, and user studies. So this is the course overview of 12 week. That is the week 1, that is documentation, the foundation of information processing and retrieval, where we will try to introduce the concept, need and purpose of documentation. We will try to cover different aspects of documentation such as documentation work and services like current awareness service and selective dissemination of information. In the second week, information retrieval system, we will try to explain the nature and the characteristic of information retrieval system, and we will try to trace the evolution of information retrieval system, and we will introduce the concept of subject analysis and representation. In the third week, in indexing system, we will try to discuss the scope and importance of indexing. We will try to cover different types of indexes and indexing methods and techniques. And at the end of the third week, we will try to introducing the concept of the derived indexing such as keyword and citation indexing. And the fourth week, which is named as assigned indexing, in this week, we will try to explain assigned indexing systems, and the focus will be on pre-coordinate indexing system as well as post-coordinate indexing system. During the fifth week, which is named as indexing languages and vocabulary control tools, we will try to introduce indexing languages and their characteristics, and we will try to cover different kinds of tools like subject headings, thesaurus, and the focus will be on controlled vocabulary for the consistency in the indexing systems. During the 6 weeks, we will try to outline the national and international indexing services, and we will try to introduce the abstracting services and different types of abstracts and the guidelines for preparing a good abstract. During the 7 week, we will try to study the abstracting services, and we will try to highlight the role of abstracting services in research and information dissemination, and we will try to make a comparison of the national and international abstracting services. And in the week 8, that is named metadata and information organization, we will introduce the concept of metadata, and we will highlight the role of metadata in the organization of digital information, and we will try to discuss the importance of metadata in digital libraries and databases. In the week 9, which is named as search strategies and feedback, we will try to discuss the different techniques of effective searching, and we will try to discuss the techniques of the search such as Boolean operators and query formulation, and we will try to analyze the importance of feedback and refining of results. Then in the week number 10, that is named information users, we will try to identify different categories of information users, and we will try to study information needs and user behavior. And week 11 is related to the user studies, which is important for identification of methods and techniques for the user study and understanding the importance in designing user-centered information retrieval systems. And the last week, that is week 12, named evaluation of information retrieval systems, we will try to measure the performance of information retrieval systems such as recall, relevance, and precision. And we will try to evaluate the effectiveness of user and user satisfaction. So finally, this 12-week course is important for different kinds of learners, for library science students, for computer science students, and for general kinds of users. So in summary, we can say information processing and retrieval is the foundational area for managing and accessing information in the digital age. And this course provides a structured understanding of key components including documentation, indexing and abstracting, retrieval systems and search strategies, users and user evaluation. These components are basically the interconnected concept forming a complete framework for effective information retrieval systems. The course will enable learners to progress from basic concept to practical application in real-world information environment. Thank you very much.